The future of Max Verstappen and Red Bull continues to dominate headlines and spark heated debates across the Formula One paddock. This time, it's Zak Brown, the outspoken CEO of McLaren, who has stirred the pot with a bold claim. If Verstappen leaves Red Bull, the team could slip so far behind that even their sister outfit, Racing Bulls, might outperform them. Before we dive in, let's pause for a moment. Do you agree with Zak Brown? Is Red Bull so reliant on Verstappen that they'd collapse without him? Or is Brown simply trying to add fuel to the fire in an already tense situation? To understand the weight of Brown's statement, look at the numbers. Verstappen has scored a staggering 165 out of Red Bull's 172 total points so far this season. That's nearly 96% of the team's tally. Meanwhile, his teammate Yuki Tsunoda has struggled to adapt since replacing Liam Lawson earlier this year. With only 7 points from 10 races, Tsunoda himself admitted in a recent interview that Verstappen is single-handedly keeping Red Bull in the fight. He even went so far as to suggest that, based on current performance, Red Bull might indeed fall behind Racing Bulls if Verstappen departs. This isn't the first time Red Bull's second seat has been a point of contention. Sergio Perez failed to match Verstappen's pace during his stint with the team, and Liam Lawson, brought in at the start of this season, was quickly replaced after underwhelming results. Now Tsunoda, who shined with Racing Bulls, finds himself struggling to adapt to the high expectations and technical demands of the RB20. Liam Lawson, the current Racing Bulls driver, pushed back against Brown's comments. He argued that it's easy to criticize from the outside, and that only those within the team truly understand the challenges and dynamics at play. Lawson's defense highlights a crucial point. While Verstappen's brilliance is undeniable, there's more to Red Bull's situation than meets the eye. Yet Zak Brown's argument isn't without merit. Verstappen's consistency and ability to extract maximum performance from any car have been pivotal for Red Bull, especially in a season where rivals like McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes have made significant gains. Without him, Red Bull's recent dominance could unravel, leaving them exposed in a fiercely competitive midfield. This scenario raises an uncomfortable but necessary question for Red Bull. Are they too dependent on one driver? And if Verstappen were to activate his performance clause and leave at the end of the season, what would the fallout look like? Would Red Bull scramble to secure an elite replacement like George Russell or even Charles Leclerc? Or would they promote a Racing Bulls talent, risking a steep learning curve at the front of the grid? Whatever the outcome, one thing is clear. Verstappen's presence isn't just a luxury for Red Bull. It's their lifeline in 2025's championship battle. His departure would send shockwaves not just through Milton Keynes, but across the entire F1 landscape. So now over to you. Do you side with Zak Brown and Tsunoda in believing that Red Bull is nothing without Verstappen? Or do you agree with Liam Lawson that the team's strength goes beyond a single driver? And if Verstappen leaves, who should Red Bull turn to as a successor? Adrian Newey has raised an important alarm at Aston Martin, and the reason is as clear as it is concerning. The development of their 2026 Formula One car is already behind schedule. Since joining the team in March of this year, arguably the most iconic designer in F1 history has been fully focused on shaping Aston Martin's future under the new technical regulations. But while other teams began their 2026 projects as early as January, Aston Martin opted to delay, waiting for Newey's arrival to avoid the risk of wasted work or having to overhaul concepts later. This strategy was bold but risky, and now the cost is becoming evident. With development only kicking off properly in March and April, Aston Martin finds itself racing against the clock, facing not only a compressed timeline, but also technological challenges that limit the use of advanced simulation tools. Despite the pressure, Newey remains calm and confident. In a recent interview, he described entering his well-known state of total focus, where, as he put it, nothing else matters except designing a winning car. He emphasized that at this stage, his attention is fixed on the foundational aspects of the car, components that cannot be changed once the 2026 season begins. These include the suspension layout, fuel tank design, and wheelbase dimensions. This approach reflects Newey's meticulous engineering philosophy, focusing on getting the basics perfect before layering in performance through aerodynamics and other adjustable areas later. But even with his reputation for genius, time is an unforgiving factor in F1. Adding to the challenge is the nature of the 2026 regulations themselves. While Newey acknowledges that there is little room for radical innovation, he also hints at untapped potential in small, technical details, an area where his brilliance could make the difference. He expects the first cars under the new rules to look and perform very differently from one another, but also predicts that, as usual in F1, performance across the grid will converge within a few years. Aston Martin's goal is clear: to finally transition from midfield hopefuls to true championship contenders. However, starting development later than their rivals puts enormous pressure on Newey and the entire technical team. The question now is whether this gamble, delaying to fully capitalize on Newey's expertise, will pay off. Can Aston Martin's 2026 car be competitive right from the first race? Or will the late start leave them playing catch-up in a field where Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, and even Red Bull are already deep into their preparations? If any individual in the paddock can deliver under such circumstances, it's Adrian Newey. His record speaks for itself. Championship-winning cars with Williams, McLaren, and Red Bull, often defined by innovative solutions that others only copied years later. Yet even Newey has admitted that the 2026 rules offer fewer areas for bold experimentation. So now it's over to you. What do you think? Will Newey's arrival and expertise allow Aston Martin to overcome their late start and deliver a car capable of fighting for wins in 2026? Or has the delay put them at a disadvantage they won't be able to recover from? Per Gunter AO ChatGPT. The Formula One paddock is absolutely buzzing right now with rumors that could completely reshape the grid for 2025 and beyond. At the center of it all, Max Verstappen. The speculation is wild. Verstappen potentially heading to Mercedes, George Russell being pushed out, and young Kimi Antonelli possibly being loaned to Alpine. This swirling narrative has grown louder after Red Bull's recent dip in form and McLaren's surge in competitiveness. It all started when Christian Horner admitted there's a performance clause in Verstappen's contract. Reports suggest that if Verstappen falls outside the top four in the drivers' standings after the Hungarian Grand Prix, he could activate this clause and leave Red Bull, despite being tied to the team until 2028. As it stands, Verstappen sits third, only 18 points ahead of George Russell, but his run of lackluster results has added fuel to the fire. The dominant rumor in recent weeks has been that Mercedes is preparing for Verstappen's arrival by moving Russell out. However, La Gazzetta dello Sport offered a surprising alternative. Russell could remain at Mercedes alongside Verstappen, with Antonelli being loaned to Alpine. This isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. From 2026, Alpine will use Mercedes power units, strengthening ties between the two organizations. There's another wrinkle. Russell reportedly rejected Mercedes' one-year contract extension offer. He's seeking a longer deal with more security. And while Toto Wolff has kept quiet about Antonelli's future, rumors of a private meeting in Austria between Wolff and Flavio Briatore, Alpine's new advisor, have raised eyebrows. Wolff hasn't shied away from the possibility of managing a fiery Verstappen-Russell partnership. Reflecting on his time overseeing Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, two teammates who famously clashed, Wolff said he wouldn't hesitate to handle another intense intra-team rivalry. Meanwhile, Russell himself appears unbothered by the speculation. He expressed trust in Toto Wolff and claimed he wouldn't mind sharing the garage with Verstappen. But let's not forget that other names like Valtteri Bottas, Mercedes' current reserve driver, are also linked to Alpine, meaning the grid shuffle could involve multiple drivers and teams. So as we approach the summer break, the questions grow louder. If Verstappen leaves Red Bull, will it trigger a domino effect across the grid? Could Mercedes field Verstappen and Russell together? Might Antonelli gain valuable experience at Alpine? And where does this leave Red Bull, scrambling for a replacement? The next few weeks could define the F1 driver market for years to come. Now over to you. What's your prediction? If Verstappen walks away from Red Bull, how will Mercedes, Alpine, and even Aston Martin react? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who's going where in this summer's potential driver shakeup?